Hey guys, it's Davin here at brewbits.com, and as you can see, or possibly hear, the weather is horrible and windy. So what better day to choose to pick all our lovely apples than this? Oh, there's a woodlouse. He's been saved. These are Kingston black apples, and these are a cracking cider apple. Look, snails. We'll give them a wash off in a mo. So they're ready to be picked because we're just about to have a storm here. And what I don't want to do is to lose all my lovely apples to the ground. Right, I've got some picking to do. I've got 4 buckets of these. Each one of these buckets holds just over 5 kilos. So I've got over about 20, 25 kilos of apples off my one tree. So that's fantastic. So here I've got my scratter. Oh, I've lost a couple of apples already, but never mind. You don't need to core it or chop them in half. All you got to do is get munching. Oh, I haven't done this for a long time. Here I've got my trusty Vigo cast iron press. That's a 9 litres basket. It's kept me going for many, many years. And here I've got all my pulped apples. And if you can't see already, I've got a jug down here ready to catch any juice. Now you can do it with a spoon. I like to get in and get my hands dirty, but I would always recommend wearing gloves. Otherwise your hands are going to turn quite brown from the tannins in the apples. Now I know that the apples are already starting to oxidize, but that's not a huge problem. We'll get lots and lots of lovely juice out of these. Now it's filled, we just put our bag over the top like that. Mine's got a couple of blocks that fit on top. Let's give that a bit of a press down so it sits nicely in. Then comes that block, and then comes, let's put one of those on there, one of those on there. There we go. Screw this on and start pressing. I finished pressing the apples, and come on in, James, have a look at this juice. It's really dark and looking delicious, quite thick too. So I've taken a sample in my trial jar, and with my hydrometer it was coming out at 1.052. Now if that ferments to dryness, which it will, that will give us a cider of about 8.5%. Little bit too strong for me. So I'm going to do a little thing, which is to add some water to this to bring it down in alcohol volume. So I've done the maths, and it comes out that I need to add another 5 litres to my 10 litres to get it down to about 4.5%, which is a lot more pleasing for me. I've topped up our apple juice with 5 litres of water. And now over here, I've got some yeast nutrients. So I'm going to literally pop that in. And I'm also using, up to me a second, James, I'm using some cider yeast here that we've found that seems to be very, very good. Now I'm cheating here. You should normally rehydrate this yeast, but I'm doing it this way. Right, in that goes. And now we give it a good stir. Mix all that in. Right, now my lid goes on. And this goes into a warm place, about 20 degrees, 18 to 22. This yeast though, ideally, the cooler you can get it, the better. So about 16 degrees is its low tolerance, and that's going to give a really nice fruity cider. It's really going to help bring out the flavours of the Kingston black apples. Right, but this goes into my warm-ish place, about 16 to 18 degrees, for about the next 2 weeks. It's been 10 days since we started our cider, and I've taken a sample using my large pipette and put it into my trial jar, and with my hydrometer I can see that the SG is coming out, it's just below 1, 0.998. Come on in, James, have a quick look at this, because there's some little bit of floaters going all around in the top of here. That's just yeast. You can see the scum as well, where that's all come up. There's all the foam from the yeast activity. And that's quite normal as well. So, right, the next thing we need to do is we need to siphon it into a fresh bucket, because all those little horrible bits in there, and there's loads and loads of gunk on the bottom. So we need to basically rack it off of the sediment into a nice clean fresh bucket. And here I'm just using my siphon, and I've sterilized that as well. Right, there's one other thing I'm going to be using, which is this. This is called a siphon sock, and this literally fits over here, and that's going to help prevent any of those little gunky bits and everything like that going through. I've sterilized everything, I've got my siphon sock on, so in it goes, and a quick suck this end. There we go. Pop it down in the bottom bucket, and the flow starts going. Whilst I'm siphoning this off, a couple of things to think about is that sometimes when you're brewing cider, it can make some weird sulfury, eggy off smells. Don't worry, that's normal. Your yeast is a little bit stressed, so make sure your temperature is constant at the recommended temperature for the yeast, normally between 18 and 22 degrees C. And what will happen over the next few days, those yeast will actually eat the compounds that are making those smells and turn them into lovely, lovely fruity compounds, which are a lot more palatable. Now your apple juice or your cider is getting down low in the bucket and you're getting close to touching the sediment, just really, really gently tilt the bucket and keep it steady whilst you siphon. And now you're going to get lots and lots and lots of lovely cider and very little sediment. Cider tends to be quite dry no matter what apples you make it from. So if you want it sweet, there's two possible ways of doing it. We can either add some fermentation stopper or pasteurize it and kill all the yeast that are in here now, and then we can bottle it. That will mean you're going to have a flat cider because we can add sugar to it to make it sweet, but that sugar's not going to be eaten because the yeast are all dead. If you want a fizzy cider that's sweet, it's a lot more difficult to do on the homebrew side with sugar. So one of the easiest things we use is a sweetener. And here we're using a wine sweetener. So at this stage, I like to have a taste of it. Oh, it smells actually quite toffee. That smells really nice. Okay. Oh yes. That will mellow over time. So it's quite dry right now. It will mellow. It will change when it's in the bottle, and it will become less sweet. Less tanniny. But I think it needs a little bit of sweetness just to take the edge off of it. So I've got 15 litres here, 3 gallons. I'm not going to add very much because I know how strong this is. I'm going to add about a teaspoon, so that's about 5 ml of this sweetener. And that's going to take the edge off it. It's going to give it a little bit of sweetness, like you've added half a teaspoon to your cup of coffee. So not really sweet, just going to take an edge off of it. And that's the way I like it. If you want it sweeter, you can add a bit more. And the beauty of it doing it at this stage is now I've stirred it in, I can take a taster of it. And if I want to make it a bit sweeter, I can do. But just remember that the cider will mellow over time. So it will naturally lose some of its harshness. And so it will, if you add too much sweetener now, it might become too sweet when you come to drink it. So just be a little bit on the cautious side. Now, as I said, I want it to be fizzy. So I'm going to need to add some priming sugar into this. When we bottle it, it's going to then fizz up in the bottles and make it carbonated. So here I have some priming sugar, and you're going to need 25 grams of sugar per gallon. And all we're going to do is just literally pour that in and give it a good stir in till it's all dissolved. I've been busy and I've sterilized all the bottles. And here I've got my little bottling wand, which goes on the end of my tap. Of course, if you don't have one of these, you can use the siphon. And that goes on, and all we do is pop the bottle in and it starts filling it up. And when it reaches the top, you lower it down and it stops the flow and you've got the perfect gap. I finished bottling, and so all I need to do now is make a label and pop it on so we know what these are, and then pop it somewhere warm, about 18 to 22 degrees C now for about the next week. And that will allow the secondary fermentation, the yeast, to eat all that sugar we've just added and make it nice and fizzy in the bottles. What we then need to do is we need to pop it somewhere nice and cool. So we need to put it in a garage or somewhere that's not going to be disturbed and let the bottles clear and let the cider clear. And then once it's clear, a couple of weeks later, you can pop a bottle open and drink it. But this is fresh cider made from apples, and it's going to really benefit if you can leave it in the bottles to condition for at least 6 months before popping one open and drinking one. So we're looking really, beginning of next summer is going to be the ideal time to pop one of these open. But there you go. That is making cider for Kingston Black apples from my apple tree in the back garden. And it's as easy as that. Okay, there are a couple of little technical bits like pressing them and getting the juice out. But once you've worked that out, once you've got yourself a little press, it's really, really easy. Okay, so as always, if you've made your own cider or if you need any questions or you want any comments, in the comments down below, ask away, let me know, I'll get back to you and I'll try and answer any questions you may have. But for now, that is Kingston Black apple cider, made from Somerset Kingston Black apples that was grown in the Brewbits, well, Brewbits HQ garden. Right, anyway, cheers for now, happy brewing, and we will see you next time.